One of the saddest things you can experience as a student is when you put in so much energy and so much effort in your academics and the results don't correlate with that particular effort. And I think the problem is not because people don't put in enough energy or people don't read as much as they should. I think the problem is, far simpler than that. I think it's a problem of technique and strategy. And that is why we're making this video on academic goal settings, so that you can actually have a clear idea of how to set goals when it comes to academics and how you can actually focus on those goals and achieve those particular goals. I also share some of my experience on the goals I've set and how far I fell from those goals and how close I was and the few times I was able to surpass my goals when it came to academics. I'll share with you and the techniques you can use to achieve your goals also as a student. So welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Dr. Peter. Some of my friends call me Dr. Piro. And on this channel, I do a little bit of academics and a little bit of medical lifestyle. So what you need to be able to transit from your life in medical school to clinical practice smoothly is going to be here. So we have OSCE stations, examination stations, clerking station, and things like that on this channel. So if you want things like that, do subscribe to this channel and watch out for more of our content. So before I rush into telling you how to set goals, let me tell you some of the reasons why it's important for you to set goals. It's important to set goals because when you set goals, you have a clear direction of where you are going. Assuming you want to take a trip to Mount Kilimanjaro, your preparation is going to be very different from someone who wants to take a trip to the end of the street. The preparedness, the energy, the mental awareness for both of you is going to be night and day. So setting a goal gives you an idea of the direction you want to go, and it also gives you a mental idea of the amount of energy and the amount of work you need to put into that particular goal. When you begin to set goals, you begin to also see that you have a higher sense of responsibility to your academics. Now, most times we see school as, that system that is just set up to stress you and then to annoy you and then to make you work to read things that are not even relevant. When you change the perspective and you begin to set goals for your academics, the desired outcome becomes something you want, not something somebody is imposing on you. It's no longer do so assignment to get so grade. It's I want to do this assignment because I want to get this particular grade, and that is night and day. Now, hard work is inevitable. Whether you're setting goals or you're not setting goals, you are going to work hard. But I'm telling you, by the time you start setting goals, your hard work and your perception of stress is going to actually be drastically altered than somebody that just sees it as a form of slavery. So setting goals will make you take responsibility for your academics, and I think that's something important and something you should experience. On the flip side, if you set goals, that means you have defined what success means to you. And that means by exclusion, you have also defined what failure means. And many people don't want to define success because they don't want to define failure also. And they prefer to stay in that gray area, that anonymity that, lack of clarity creates. But I don't think that is, a very fancy idea. I think you should create a picture, create a mental picture of what you want, and then try to, get to that point. Many times you might not get to that particular point, but by the time you put in effort X and you get results Y, then you begin to ask yourself, what amount of effort, what technique should I change to get result Z? What amount of energy should I put to get result Z? And that in itself is actually a good mental leap to actually make when it comes to goal setting. So by all means, set goals. For me personally, the most important lesson I learned when it came to goal setting was elimination of unhealthy competition. In medical school, for example, you're going to have a lot of people with more talent than you, more emotional support than you, more financial buoyancy than you, and competing with them will actually be a very ludicrous idea. So the point now will come to yourself. Your greatest competition is now going to be yourself, and you can eliminate unhealthy competition. And this brings to mind what Ernest Hemingway said, that true nobility comes not in being superior to your fellow man, but in being superior to your former self. So by the time you set goals, you know this is what I can achieve, and then this is what I want to achieve, and then this is what I'm trying to achieve. It eliminates other people from the equation, and as they say, the sky is big enough for all of us to fly. And by all means, aim at the moon. If you miss it, maybe you land among the clouds, but I'm telling you, we're not doing this so that you land among the clouds. We are saying aim for a particular result so that you can get that particular result, and that, I'm telling you, is an amazing feeling. And let me say this last analogy to push the point home. Your attention is like the rays of the sun. If you put a piece of paper under the sun for days, nothing will actually happen. But by the time you immediately begin to concentrate that sun rays with a hand lens on a piece of paper, immediately it actually begins to burn. And that is the power of your attention. If you begin to harness it and focus it on a particular set of outcomes, the results, even if they are not exactly that, they will be close enough for you to celebrate yourself. I'm telling you, that is actually a very wonderful feeling. So these are some of my goals from medical school. This was written on the 24th of April 2018. It was my third surgical rotation, and my desired outcome was 68.2 in surgery. It was my third surgical rotation. And at the end of the day, when the result came out, I had a 61 point something. I was like 7 marks short of my particular goal, but at least I had a 60, and that was the first time I was having 60 in surgery, and it was an amazing feeling, and I was very near the top of the class. Here is another result. Here's another goal rather. This was for otorhinolaryngology. This was 20th of February 2018. I wanted to score a 75% in ENT and a 75% in anesthesia. When the result came out in ENT, I had an 82%. It was an amazing. That's one of the best results I ever had in medical school. And it was doubly joyful for me because I wanted to score a particular goal, and then for the first time in a long time, I actually surpassed that particular academic goal. So it was really amazing. Now, on this very goal set also, because I wrote quite a number of exams during this particular time, I wanted to score 75.1% in medicine. It was my second medicine rotation, and at the end of the day, I had, I think, a 51. So I was like 24 marks short from my goal. But on this very particular goal set also, I had 2 results that I got, almost above them. And it tells you that sometimes you can actually come so close to your goal. Sometimes you can surpass it, and many times you can actually fall short of that particular goal. But that just should not discourage you from setting, goals generally. This was another interesting set of goals. This was written on the 11th of March 2016. It was my first medical rotation. It was the first time I was a clinical student, and I was so excited because I think at the time I wanted to be an internist. I wanted to be a physician, and I wanted to score 82.5% in medicine. When the result came out, I had a 69.8% or something like that, and I was just so close to 70, and my desired outcome was 82. So I was like 13 marks short of my goal, but I had a 69, and 69 in medical school is a big deal. Now, if you're watching this and you're a medic, you know that the pass mark in medicine in most medical school is 50%. Now, 50% will seem as if it's cheap, but if that is your goal, it becomes an amazingly difficult feat to achieve. But by the time you set a higher goal, if your goal is to fly, running it becomes a byproduct of your goal. And I'm telling you, it's possible. I've set some really high goals. I've had 80s, and I had a lot of 70s and 60s, and I'm telling you, and I've had 50s as well. And I'm telling you, when you have 80s and 70s, it's really nice. And when you have those scores, your concern is no longer failing. Your concern is how far above the pass mark can you go. And I'm telling you, when you have that idea, when it comes to goal setting in academics, it's a different ball game altogether, and your performance is on another level altogether. And I'm telling you, this is not about IQ. This is not about it's just about what you want, giving you a blank check. What do you want? And when you define what you want, you can begin to put in the effort and the energy required to get that particular out. So now, how do you set goals in particular? I make my goals colorful like this, and I paste them maybe on my mirror, sometimes in my wardrobe where I can see them clearly. The reason why it's called a goal is because it's a vision. A vision is something you can see, and when you can see it, neurochemistry, neuropsychiatry, what you can see is what you begin to advertise your desired outcome to your brain. Advertising is a very powerful industry. What you see is what you think about. So by the time you begin to advertise what you want your particular outcome to be, your brain begins to work, unconsciously, subconsciously, and otherwise towards that particular outcome. And I'm telling you, that is a very powerful idea. So write down your goals and place them where you can see them. Next, use the SMART, the SMART technique when you want to set goals. Your goals should be specific. When I mean specific, I mean to the decimal. Here, for example, I wanted 82.5. It's not just 82.5. So you are specific even to the decimal, and be specific enough to know that if, for example, now let's assume you are doing a new rotation and your goal is to get 70%. That means in the theoretical part of that exam, you need to score as high as 35%, and then in the practicals you also need to score as high as 35%. This means for both practicals and theory, you only have 15 marks to lose. You cannot lose more than 15 marks. This begins to put some mental form of discipline in you already, so you don't have so much, you have so much at stake. Also, your goals must be measurable. So SMART, S, specific, M, measurable. That's why it's important to use numbers when you are aiming for a particular outcome or a particular goal. Having numbers makes it measurable, and not just the goal. the steps to that particular goal should also be measurable. So if I want to score 75%, for example, I know I have to read 4 hours 4 times a week. So it begins to let you know, okay, so every week I should read 16 hours. So if I want, I can spread it along the week and read 2 hours every day or 2.5 hours every day, or I can read 4 times a week 4 hours, and that will still give me my 16 hours. So it will give you begin to set measurable small goals towards the big goal, and that is actually very powerful. Next, your goal should be attainable. Attainable means to check for attainability. For example, I can say, okay, what has been the highest results in this department in the last 5 years, and then you begin to have an idea of what people have scored before, and then you begin to know, okay, this is where I should be thinking about. And it's not just using people's grades to have a limit for yourself. When you know the limits, you can then ignore them or break them, and breaking records is amazing. I think once in medical school I broke one record. I think it was in biochemistry, and I'm telling you, it was amazing. It was really amazing. So check for what is attainable and then see how you can surpass it. Then R, your goal should be realistic. If you want to have 105 over 100%, that is plain naive. That is not realistic. So set goals that are realistic. Set goals you can believe. There's no need to make it higher than what you want. So it should be your goal. It's not something someone is imposing on. Let it be what you want particularly. There's nothing wrong with having 50 as your goal or even 51 as your goal, but just make sure that is exactly what you want, so you don't shortchange yourself. The reason why I'm saying it should be exactly what you want is, at the end of the day, when the result comes out, if you are the lowest in the class with your particular score, you should be comfortable enough to go home happy, because that is what you wanted. That is your desired outcome. So set goals that you want. Let it be realistic, believe them. And then lastly, your goal should be time bound. This goal, for example, was written on the 11th of March 2016. The delivery date was 14th of June 2016. So it's a 3 months posting. That means I knew I had 90 days, and that means I have 90 nights to work towards my goal. So by the time you begin to set your goals using the SMART technique, it makes it more concrete, and you can work towards it and begin to measure your progress towards your particular goal. Lastly, I want to say this. Personally, it's important for you to have reasons. Reasons come first and answers come second. All the great teachers in the past have said this. When you have reasons, you know why you are doing a particular thing. It's easier when you want to do it. And the greatest reasons are found are people, not things. So you don't want to just score a particular number. You don't want to get 80 because you can. That is possible. That's something you can think about. So, but for me personally, I found the best reasons when I think about the people that are important to me. So I look back at some of the greatest teachers I've had that believed in me, that made me believe in myself, and I want to get these grades because I want their prophecy of me to be true. And then I think about my parents, people who have sacrificed so much for me, and my friends who support me, and I'm like, I'm going to do this so that all your effort and all your energy comes to good fruition. And that becomes an emotional and organic reason for me to actually chase my goals with everything I have. Something else I want you to also do is set a negative so that you know where you don't want to go. For me personally, I hate regrets. I hate going home after a particular exam and thinking, why, if I had just read for one more hour, this would have been a different outcome altogether. No. So to avoid that regret, I give everything I can give before the exam, so I know if you give me that script again, I can't do better. So that way you have no regrets when you are leaving the exam. And I think that's a good philosophy you can actually imbibe also. And as a final word, it's good to visualize your goal. Some of the great teachers in Mind Valley and a lot of other people will tell you, when you visualize your goal, it makes it closer. And when it makes you closer, you have an emotion attached to that particular goal. And I'm telling you, emotions are powerful reasons to do things. They are very powerful motivation to do things. So think about your goal, visualize your goal. After your morning routines, think about your goal. This is what I want from this particular posting. This is what I want from this particular semester. And just having that at the back of your mind, and having that vision as a driving force towards your particular goal, is a very powerful motivation to achieve that particular academic goal. So thank you very much for watching. There will be a third part of this study hack series, and there I'm going to be talking about smart work versus hard work. And there is a first part to this series where we're talking about the ground rules when it comes to studying and study hacks that really work. I'll drop a link here so you can also check it out. Lastly, if you're interested in OSCEs, examination stations, clerking stations and things like that, do subscribe to this channel and watch out for more of our content. See you in the next video. Cheers.